Shalom. I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And salutations to the brothers that's teaching the truth and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful elect, the one-third, the sincere listeners. Alright, Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. And Yahushai being the name of his Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This gospel, this truth, the kingdom of heaven, salvation is for the Israelites and the Israelites only, or you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and the ones scattered abroad. Alright, that may look like the other nations, but your spirit resonates with this truth. Okay, you're more than most likely an Israelite, according to the patriarch, going back to the 12 tribes of Israel. Alright, and today's lesson is going to be entitled Thine eye shall be evil toward thy brother. Alright? His eye shall be evil towards his brother. Thine eye. I'm going to say thine eye. Alright, thine eye shall be evil towards thy brother. Alright? And pretty much this topic was just, brought out through the spirit. I'm gonna go into depth. I'm gonna go into detail why I came up with this topic, but just something to think about, even for us. Whatever, us brothers in this truth, us brothers in this walk. Right? There's a lot gonna be said. There's a lot of balance to everything, but I'm gonna make my point. Right? My point is going to be balanced because we're judges. We're all judges, right? I'm assuming everybody that's tuning into my video is a judge. All right? So you're going to judge it both ways. Right? When you come amongst men in this truth, when everybody, when the spirit of the Lord is dealing with you as a man, and you gather around amongst men of the Lord, and you have righteous conversations, right? And you might think one way and another brother thinks another way. You still have to hear that other brother's perspective on the matter, right? You can't just think one way. We're judges for a reason, right? And there's a reason why one brother thinks one way and he's still right, and you might think one way and you're still right. You see what I'm saying? On the same matter. You might think opposite opinions on the same matter, but you could still be right because you're a judge, right? And that might go over a lot of heads, but whatever. You know what I mean? Take it in the spirit, pray on it if you can't receive it. You know what I mean? But pretty much, let me give you some backstory. Let me bring out a scripture before I give the backstory. So Deuteronomy 28:54, going back to the curses. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother. This is the main point. Okay? And towards the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Alright, and this was going to be upon the Israelites if they didn't hearken to the Lord, listen to his words, right? Deuteronomy 28:15, but it shall come to pass, KJV, if thou shalt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So one of those curses, part of those curses would be, the brotherhood of men, within the Israelite, amongst the Israelites would be shattered. All right, there would be no honor, there would be no integrity. All right, it says his eye shall be evil towards his brother. All right, and that came with a whole lot of stuff, adultery, you name it. Okay, Because if you hate your brother, you're gonna try and sleep with his wife, right? Like that's just, you know, or you're gonna try and get one up over him. Going back to the laws, going into, the Hebrew servant, right? You can, if you didn't love your brother, you're not gonna deal with him according to the Hebrew servant laws. You're gonna deal with him according to the heathen laws, even though he's not a heathen, right? Which is wicked. So you wouldn't do that, right? You wouldn't, because you fear the Most High. Obviously, you're gonna do right by him, But obviously, we're in hell right now. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But that's what it is. But pretty much going into the point of the video, brief, not testimony, but brief little story. Earlier today, I had brought my little brother to basketball. I guess, how do you call it? Scrimmage or house league, whatever. A little basketball house league, right? So I brought my little brother to basketball house league. As I'm, this is really step by step. As I'm parking up, I park up, whatever. I'm with my little brother. And in my mind, because the reason I'm talking about it is the first time I'm doing this for my little brother in terms of house league basketball, right? So once you hear basketball, you gotta automatically assume Jake, right? Jake, right? Judah Benjamin, you know what I mean? Maybe Levi, whatever. But you gotta assume Jake, right? And you already know your own people. You know how people are. You know how your own people are. You may even know how you are, how you come off, right? You might come off a certain way, and how you deal with people, how you might deal with interactions with other men, so to speak, your interactions, and you may have preconceived notions, okay, on Jake, on people that look like you, right? Even amongst us in this troop, we say fuck Jake, and to hell with Jake if he can't get down with his word. That's when it comes to this word, but the world is a different reality. The world is a different realm. You get what I'm trying to say? The world is a different realm. You got to know how to maneuver amongst Jake in the world. And I'm not saying that comes with skill too. That comes with knowledge. You got to deal with wisdom, which you can find in the scriptures. All right, Yahweh Shai showed plenty examples of that. Okay, he definitely did. You know what I mean? He was in the world, but not of the world. But and the world knew him not. Okay, but he was in the world. He knew everything about his own people, and they couldn't fathom it. They were like, "What the fuck? What the fuck do you know?" Basically, you know what I mean? So, anyways, moving on. That's where our wisdom kicks in, right? That's where our wisdom kicks in. And I'll say this for myself. I'm gonna speak for brothers as well. Like, we're in that mindset of no new friends, no new people to really get to know. You know what I mean? Depending on whatever your work situation, I don't know, that's different. You can get to know people at work, whatever, so to some degree, not to the level of they know everything about you. But whatever, you do what you got to do to maneuver in this society, which is fine, right? You see what I'm saying? You get that, right? But specifically when it comes to Jake, right? So-called black people, Israelites, right? You know how your people are, and you in your mind when you're amongst these people, you already have a hedge in the sense of you don't trust these people. You don't trust them. You don't want to make new friends. Not to say we're here to make friends. You get what I'm trying to say? But I'm going to get to the point. Right? You might even have a standoffish vibe about you. Right? That maybe you may need to correct. Okay? But also, what you need to understand as well is that you are a diplomat. You are a diplomat and a representative of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Firstly, okay? You are a diplomat and a representative of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Firstly. And what I mean by that is, you know, you're going to show brotherly love. All right, now I've been talking for a little bit, so I'm gonna just get that scripture real quick, and I'm gonna get to my point. Romans 12:10. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love. Okay, what does that mean? This is not no fuckery, no bullshit, no fugazi stuff. This is real, authentic, you know? Brother, do you need a drink of water? I got you. Brother, how you feeling today? I could tell you're not feeling, you know, I could tell you're not in the best of moods. You want to talk, you want to talk, brother? This is a safe space. I got you. I got your back. You feel me? That's what it's talking about. Brother, what's going on? Talk to me. You know, you short on the rent, talk to the, you know what I'm saying? Let's go to the treasury, whatever. You know, you need a bill paid, whatever. Brother, you're a good brother, you know, your repertoire, your resume is good. We got you. Okay? The bill pay money, yeah, the money asking and the bill payment shit is for people that, it's for brothers that put in work, prove themselves, and fell on hard times. It's not for randoms that just want to come around and then ask for money. Okay? That's not how this shit works. That's not how this truth works, Salakia. That's not how this works, buddy. Okay? You got to be sincere in this thing. You didn't put in no pain. You never put in no winters in this thing. You never put in nothing. And then you want to come around and ask brothers for money. You're a fucking goof. And then on the top of that, you want to come around and fight brothers, man. May Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai destroy you. Okay? And I'm speaking from, you know, brothers know. If you know, brothers know. You feel me? Because that shit happened. We had somebody standing on the outside, whatever, coming for a few months. Eventually came to be a scoffer. He came in, he wanted to fight one of the elders of the camp. Okay? And then he's bugging out on YouTube. I really have yet to do a video on this guy. You know, the elder of the camp did one, whatever. I mean, good, great. You know what I mean? But he actually not posted my channel, but he tagged my channel. That's how bugged out he was, because he had beef with one of the elders, but he tagged my channel. So he's bugged out. And I have yet to even rebuke that. So I got to do that. You know what I mean? Speaking on it, I'll probably do that sometime soon. You know? Regardless. Okay? You can't just be coming up to no camp asking for no money, man. That's not how this stuff works. That's not how this truth works, man. We don't even know you. You didn't put in no work, no pain. Okay? You haven't supped with us. We you know what I'm saying? Like, we can't trust you. Why are we giving you money, buddy? Did you even put into the treasury? Get out of here. You see what I'm saying? Get out of here. All right? And then on top of that, you want to fight an elder of the camp, one of the elders of the camp. You want to throw punches at an elder of the camp, man. You're a demon, man. Okay, so how about Shem Shai destroy you? Okay? Hebrews 13:1. It says, let brotherly love continue, but be not, Salakia, Hebrews 13:1, let brotherly love continue. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. And I'm not saying this happened in the situation I'm about to talk about, because it was definitely not that. Okay, but certain environments, certain places, you may come across, especially when it's mainly Jake Israelites, right? In a structured, I would say, quote unquote, structured setting, right? This is not necessarily a random, okay, I'm going to the mall, gonna pick something up, my guard is up if anybody comes around me. And I'm not saying your guard can't be up, right? But you got to know when to balance and position things, right? So going back to the story, I'm bringing my little brother to basketball, his house league, and I park up my car, whatever, walk into the doors, and whatever, a Jake and I guess his son, they were holding the door, whatever. They were in front of us, me and my bro, and we're walking up, and his son and himself held the door for us, and I was like, thank you, appreciate it. You know what I mean? You know that head nod that you give as a Jake, you gotta give those ones. Look people in their eyes as a man. That's what you gotta do, right? You gotta let people know you're aware of your surroundings. I appreciate it. Thank you. You know what I mean? That respect, right? You got to give that respect. You know what I mean? There's times where you may, you know what I'm saying? You might open a door for somebody. And I'm not going to say suggest to do this, right? But let's just say you're the first one to open a door for somebody, right? And I've done this before too. And, I'm not saying do this. Right? But you got to just pick and choose, and sometimes it's never that serious, right? Because, whatever, I'm going to a Jamaican spot. And I know how serious it gets, because it's all about respect. Everybody wants respect. As a man, you want respect. I'm a man that wants respect, always. You feel me? But we got to understand where we're living, right? We got to understand where we are in this world, right? But basically, I'm going to a Jamaican spot, and I noticed that there was another Jake behind me, and whatever, I guess he come to the same spot as me. You know what I'm saying? But so I opened the door. I kept. But I guess I was the first to go in, but I held the door open for the guy. You know what I mean? And I noticed he never said thank you. Right? So I'm looking at this guy, and I'm not saying don't do what I do, and don't do anything that's that's gonna jeopardize your situation. All right, your life, your ministry in this walk. But I was just rolling in the spirit. I wasn't on no hard vibe. I'm not saying I shouldn't rely on the spirit. You see what I'm saying? But I was just rolling in the spirit. You feel me? That's just how I was rolling. So I was, not to say emboldened, but I was emboldened in a sense. Right? So I was like, I opened the door for dude, and he's just walking in. I'm like, bro, you're not gonna say thank you? And he's looking at me. And I'm looking at him. And I'm like, bro, I held the door for you, bro. You're not going to say thank you? You know what I'm saying? And he's looking at me. And I'm looking at him. You feel me? And I got the vibes, bro. Trust me. This is probably a guy that could have probably, you know what I'm saying? You guys get the understanding of this video. This guy could have probably done something to me. And I'm not saying physically, but with the sword. You know what I'm saying? But I just didn't care. Because in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck? I just opened the door for you, okay? All gone. I didn't want no, like, bro, respect. Like, whatever. Simple respect. Amongst Benjamin, the way Benjamin says thank you, they say respect. Blessings, whatever. Yeah, respect, bless. That's how we say thank you. amongst ourselves. That's how we maneuver. That's how we talk. You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, bro, I told the bro, I'm like, yo, you know what I'm saying? I held the door for you, bro. You're not going to say thank you? He's like, you give me a look. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, he's like, all right, you know, basically he said, yeah, he said thank you. You know what I'm saying? I forced it out of him, whatever. I'm not saying that was the wisest thing for me to do, but that was my spirit at the time. Feel me? That's just how I felt. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Maybe he thought I had something on me. You feel me? Because I'm there looking at him. At the same time, he could have had something on him. And I'm not saying this is no carnal, nothing. I'm just being real. I'm being real. We're realists here. You feel me? So that's probably what could have went down. You feel me? But anyways, let me get the scripture quick. Matthew 10:16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. I was a sheep, bro. I never had nothing. But I was emboldened by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai in the sense of, and I'm not saying to do this. Don't do this. Don't do what I do. The point is, not everybody's going to say thank you. And you're just being a genuine person. Just clock T, whatever. Just clock it. Just clock it. The fact that they're not a, you know, the Lord sees Wagwan. You see what I'm saying? Because anytime I've held, you know what I'm saying? Anytime I held the door for somebody, I'm looking at them saying, oh, are you going to say thank you? Because that actually happened to me on not to say the receiving end or whatever, but like I had somebody open the door for me and I forgot to say thank you. You know what I mean? And ever since then, I was like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. I should say thank you. Like, that's just proper manners and respect. You know what I'm saying? And this was Jake too. And not to say I was on some bitch shit. It was just on some, you know, you're right. Still, I should have said respect. Should have acknowledged the fact that I got the door, whatever. It's not a big deal, but that's just something in the custom of this society. That's just something how you do to maneuver, right? Like, oh, if you open the door for somebody, they say thank you. You know what I'm saying? But then again, Jake will leave you asleep. Jake will put you to sleep, man. Jake is ready to, yo, fuck, who the fuck is this nigga checking me? Does this nigga know who I am in the streets? The fuck? He's checking me. He's talking about, oh, thank you, nigga. The fuck? Nigga, thank you. I don't say no thank you to no nigga. I take what I want. That's the mentality of Jake. That's the mentality of an Israelite man right now, because he's under the curses. You get what I'm trying to say? You know what I mean? So there is no. That's why you got to know how to maneuver amongst Jake, right? Like this was a learning experience for me too. Because I was like, oh shit, I did reflect on that shit. I was like, shit, maybe I could have lost my life for real on this thing. Anyways, I ordered my food, got my food, and I left. But obviously, as I'm leaving, he's behind me, he's waiting on me. I had to give him a look to let him know, yo, I'm still here. Like, yo, because that's just how you gotta move amongst Jake. You gotta let them know, like, you're still here. Even, it's not about macho bravado, but Jake will prey on the weak. And you can't be weak amongst Jake, man. You can't be weak amongst Israelites, man. Especially wicked Israelites. You gotta still stand as a man. Like I had to stand as a man for what I did. And I'm not putting that vibration out there. But if I had lost my life over that, I would have had to stood on that. You feel me? And at the same time, it was stupid. Because I shouldn't need the respect of anybody except for Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and the brotherhood, so to speak. You know what I mean? That's the only reason. I'm my woman. Or my woman, whatever. You see what I'm saying? But you know, sometimes ego gets in our mind and just basic respect. It's not even that it was just ego. It's just basic respect. Because if somebody opened the door for me, I would say appreciate you. All right, cool. Good look, whatever. Good looks. Thank you. Whatever. However you want to say thank you, you could say that. You feel me? It's not a big fucking deal. But Jake is just weird, man. Any sign of weakness, Jake is like on that. You say thank you, that's weakness. You're weak. You know? Anyways, that was a side story. Going back into the full story. Let me just make sure I made sure I read this verse. Matthew 10:16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Right, we're amongst wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Yeah, we gotta be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, right? So that means pick your battles wisely. Okay, pretty much. In the sense of my situation, right? So moving forward with walking into the basketball house league. Okay. The Jake opened the door. Him and his son opened the door for me or whatever. I'm like, thank you. You know what I mean? Give eye contact, give that Jake head nod. If you know about the Jake head nod, all right? All you Jakes know about the Jake head nod. Okay? if you know, you know. Anyway, you gotta give that, you know what I'm saying? Eye contact. All right, that's a big deal among Jake, man. Jake ain't looking for no, you know what I mean? You gotta be a man in this thing. But I'm not saying that's something you learn in this truth, but it's something that you gotta know, you gotta do. It's a survival tactic. It's for survival. Honestly, you could be bluffing all you want. All right, that's why I gave that story. I wasn't bluffing. I never said I had anything on me, but that's why I gave that story about me going into a Jamaican spot. You know what I mean? Whatever, for food, obviously. Yeah. But anyways, I go in. I walk in, and whatever. Long story short, cause I'm just gonna make the story short now. Long story short, whatever. I'm sitting on the same bench as the Jake that held the door for me, whatever. Him and his son, whatever. They held the door for me, and my little bro, whatever. And I guess his son and my little bro, they're on the same team and whatever. So we end up pretty much, chopping it up or whatever. Small talk, whatever, things are going, what Jake, it's Jake, right? We're Jake. So we have a common vibe or whatever, But like I said, overall, yeah, my guard was up. I'm not going to lie. My guard was up, because this is what it is. A new environment for me, whatever. It is what it is. And I know how Jake is. Jake has an ego to them, pride to them. And sometimes you got to match energy with energy, but at the same time, you still got to be a diplomat and cordial, and a diplomat for Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? So you still got to be that light that people want to see in the world, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, wow, I never seen a guy like this before. I never seen somebody, I like the way this guy conducts himself. He holds it down. He does this. He does that. It's not about being cool. It's not about none of that. But, whatever you are in this truth, people might gravitate to that. You know what I'm saying? Whoever you are in this truth and whatever your personality is that Yahweh Hashem Yahushai bestowed upon you, people will gravitate to that. You see what I'm saying? Are you a cool guy? Jake is cool. Jake is a cool guy overall. Jake is cool. I'm not saying there's not no whatever. You get the point. Jake is cool. You grab and you gravitate to who you gravitate to. You know what I mean? And overall, Jake is cool. Jake is a cool guy. Everybody loves Jake. Even the heathens. Even Esau. Even Esau loves Jake. He can't deny Jake, but obviously they want to deny Jake. Okay, because we're under the curses and he hates Jake. Okay? And Jake is you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. I said that in the beginning of my video. Okay? Jake short form for Jacob. Right? We're from Jacob, the man Jacob. He had 12 sons. The name got changed to Israel. Alright? The 12 patriarchs. Alright? So pretty much I end up like just small talk, small banter, chopping it up with the guy that what I'm saying, his son is on the same team as my brother, whatever, and we're just chopping it up, that whatever. End up everything was cool, you know what I mean? But I did have in the beginning, I did have a standoffish personality, a vibe to me. I'm be real. I'm not saying I'm guilty of having it. It's just for my protection because I don't know how people are, and you know how people are. So I don't have time for the games and all that. But if you're cool, I'm cool. So you show me signs of being cool, I'm gonna give you vibes of being cool as well. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm not saying our guard should be down. I was just rolling in the spirit. I was rolling in with wisdom. You do good to me, I do good to you, so to speak. On a cordial level. This is not do nothing with the truth. This is just stepping out on in the world, so to speak. You know what I mean? In the world, not of the world, so to speak. You know what I mean? But you gotta know how your people are. You gotta know how Jake is. You gotta know how to deal with them. Because you might end up in situations like that, right? And even when dude, held the door open for me, he did look back and make sure, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's not no make sure, but like, respect, brother. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those, whatever, respect, da da da. And that head nod, that Jake head nod. You know the Jake head nod. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not saying that was everything, but that's why I go on. You feel me? Pretty much. And then on top of that, during the halftime, somebody came over to dap the guy up that I was sitting beside or whatever. And I wasn't expecting a dap, but at the same time, the man ended up coming to dap me up, so I had to go and dap him up. I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah, man, bless up, big up. You know what I mean? Benjamin talks. That's how we talk out here in Toronto. That's what we say. You feel me? That's the type of lingo we say. Big up, bless up. But we get that from Benjamin, from Jamaica, whatever. That's how we talk over there. You know what I mean? So that's what we say. Because we're not no fucking squares. Hey, brother, how are you? No, we don't talk like that. We don't talk like that. We're men, okay? We talk like how we want to talk, how we want to express ourselves. All right? And brothers, a lot of these words that we're speaking now, quote unquote slang and all that stuff, best believe a lot of these words are being put into the Oxford Dictionary every year. A lot of these quote unquote slang terms are being put into the Oxford Dictionary every year. Secondly, okay, so don't let anybody say, oh, you're speaking unintelligently now, okay? Even now more than ever, however you speak is how you speak. If you can get the message across, then you can, all right? If you're able to code switch, do that. But it's like, however you can get the message across, get the message across, okay? Because I seen a video, I wanted to do a video on it. However, it is what it is. It was a Jake, I think he was Judah, but he went to Harvard. And he took a patois class in Harvard. Okay? So what does that mean? Patois is a Jamaican, basically Creole or whatever you want to call it, broken English. A Jamaican broken English class. He's learning it at Harvard, one of the top Ivy League schools in America. Okay, so what does that tell you? That means Esau is trying to study all of Israel. Okay, hold on, just give me a sec, real quick. Hello. Can I call you back after my video, please? All right, thank you. Don't ask how long it's gonna be. Okay, bye. Yeah, Salakia. So, as I was saying, all right, at Harvard, they're learning patois, but that's just Esau. They're teaching patois. Not even they're learning patois and they're teaching patois. Okay, but that's Esau pretty much doing a dossier on you Benjamites, on you, you Israelites that are from the tribe of Benjamin, learning the certain lingos and slangs. So him and his people can be hip and privy to when you talk shit. Because guess what? When you were learning when you were learning Patwa, okay? Not saying when you were learning Patwa. When you were speaking Patwa, there's a reason why you spoke Patwa, so that way the slave master couldn't understand what you're saying. Okay? Now, he's able to do a whole dossier and teach a whole Ivy League class course on it. Alright? So, that's a little side, topic, lessons within lessons. Okay? But you got to be privy to this devil. This devil is all knowing of Jake, man, of Israelites. Okay? But anyways, going back to the story. So the one Jake he came across and he dapped up that one guy. I think he was one of the coaches, whatever, he was running the whole program, so to speak. But he knew him, dapped him up, but I was nearby. And I wasn't really looking at him per se, expecting a dap. But he came up to me and said, "Hey brother, you know what I mean? Blah blah blah." And I'm like, what's good, bro? Bless up. And he dapped me up and I dapped him up too. I'm like, come on, bless. Everything good. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm good if you're good. You feel me? But like, I'm not. That's the thing with Jake. But Jake has I'm sure you experienced this, and I've experienced this, whatever. But when it comes to Jake, right, it's that weird, awkward, who's this nigga? And it's not even that you're thinking that, but Jake, the other nigga's thinking that. So like, I don't know this nigga. He's not from my block. He's not from my hood. Like, even though we look alike, we look. You know what I'm saying? But that's the curses, right? That's what I'm going back to. Deuteronomy 28:54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother and toward the wife of his bosom. But the main point of this video is that his eye shall be evil toward his brother. You get what I'm trying to say? And that's what's going on amongst our people, right? So we can't get too caught up into that mindset and being like that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying we can't have our guard up. Of course we gotta have our guard up, because if you're not in this truth, you know what I'm saying? We can't trust you for nothing. But you can trust people on a quote unquote surface level. Everybody, especially Jake does have a moral compass standard of living, so to speak. You know what I mean? Even though they're wicked and bad mind, whatever. Jake is wicked too, man. Don't get it twisted, right? But on a certain level, you gotta. It's not like you were at a bar or a club or nothing. I'm here for my little bro. I'm here for my little bro and for him to have fun playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? That's the way you gotta look at it. So you gotta kind of pick your battles and your when you wanna mean mug, so to speak. You can't just be mean mugging all the. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody that's there for the most part, I would say 99% of people that's there. I'll probably say 100 people, 100%. They're there just to see their kid have fun and have a good time, or their sibling, whoever, to have a good time and have fun. It's not no evil eye, crooked eye business. You see what I'm saying? But we get caught up in certain things when it comes to that. Do you feel me? So let's get some scriptures, and then I'm going to close up on that, okay? Lord, will you be edified? But, I had to bring, I feel like, this was in the spirit because it happened in real life, but I'm sure it happens amongst all of us, right? Like we live our day-to-day lives. Brothers have kids, brothers have siblings that they might, tend to, whatever the case may be. And we gotta just know how to maneuver too, right? Like, we're in the world, not of the world, right? Micah 7:5, it says, "Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom." Right. So, can't trust everybody. Doesn't mean you can't trust your friend. Doesn't mean you can't trust your brother. Doesn't mean you can't trust, you know, somebody that opened the door for you, whatever, for what he did. But you can't put all your trust in them, right? And that's the same way I think about it. And your woman, the woman that you lay with, that you sleep with, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You can't put your all in that woman. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. Okay? Because you don't know what they got planned behind your back. Right? Because the scripture's going to say, for the son dishonoreth the father, right? The daughter riseth up against her mother. The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Right? And that's amongst Israel. The house of Israel, right? So you can even put that amongst all Jake, right? All Israelites are enemies amongst each other right now. You know? Jake is in it for self. There's no togetherness. But when you go to the law and know, but Israelite, know that you're Israel, know that people that look like you, and you know the people that look like you. It's not even on the physical level, right? You know the people that look like you. Okay, even from light skin to dark skin, and even the other tribes, right? So I'm dealing with the Southern Kingdom right now. But from light skin to dark skin, we still all have a common look. Okay? We have a look. There's no way around it. And it's complex, but it's all of the Heavenly Father, and that's the way He wanted it. Okay? And these heathens know, these Edomites know it too. They know where our complexion goes from light skin to dark skin. Okay, I'm just dealing with prototype Southern Kingdom right now. We know that we fit through all the nations, and we're all over, and we're mixed up. We know that. I said that in the beginning of this book. But I'm talking about Southern Kingdom right now. You know what I mean? If I look at a quote unquote mixed kid, I could tell that he's still a Jake. His mother's white, his dad's black. I know he's a Jake. I could tell. See what I'm saying? I know that. I could tell his dad's black, so to speak. Or I could tell he's mixed. And more than most likely his dad's black, her dad's black, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? So we know our people, man. Okay? From light skin to dark skin, we know our people. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of you people get too caught up on this colorism thing, and it's all of who you go back to from your father. All right? That's simple and plain. This is Matthew 10 and 21. It says, and the brother shall, you know what? Get that right. You know what I'm saying? Matthew 10 and 22. Salakia. Matthew 10 and 20. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And the brother, this is the point, shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death. So the main point was the brother shall deliver up the brother to death. Right? And, there's many ways to break, not many ways, but, one way of looking at it is that, this is the reason why Jake doesn't trust his own people, his own brethren, so to speak, people that look like him. Because you never know the ulterior motives that your people have, because why? They're wicked. They're wicked. Scriptures talk about they surpass the evil deeds of the wicked, roughly paraphrasing, right? So, that's why your guard is up amongst your people. You know what I'm saying? But there's a reason why you gotta have balance, right? There's a reason why you gotta have balance. Simple and plain. You know? But there's always a flip side to everything. You know what I mean? This is Psalm 133 and 1. So, behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. All right, and that's very important. But we're gonna get that all in the kingdom. You know, when the Lord makes us perfect. You know what I mean? But it's good to have that, man. So that's why you gotta appreciate the brotherhood. The brotherhood is supposed to be a safe space, a safe place, and a safe space, safe place, and vice versa. Okay. You know, when the brother, I'm not saying it never did, not saying it will, it shouldn't, but the brotherhood should never be a toxic place where you feel that you can't talk to anybody and chop it up with a brother, and you know what I mean. It should never feel that way, especially in Yahushua. If you love Yahushua, it should never be that way. You know, simple and plain. So Ecclesiastes 4:9 says, two are better than one because they have good reward for their labor. Okay, and it goes into other stuff, some real stuff, but it's not the point. Okay, but having two brothers on the same accord, same mindset, is always going to be having just one brother. Obviously, one brother with the mindset of Yahushua, that's in the spirit, that's two. So imagine if you had two brothers physically and one brother in the spirit, Yahushua, that's three. You see what I'm saying? The Holy Spirit, you know what I'm saying? That's three. You know, but you get the point, man. If you're on the mindset of the same, things are different, man. The power is different. Everything just shows different, man. People see you guys different. People can know, oh, where are these guys? Where are they from? And I'm not saying you need that, but it shows. It shows. If brothers go to a certain spot, you know, let's just say brothers want to go out to eat, right? Brothers want to go grab a drink somewhere, right? You go to a certain place, people are gonna notice, oh, these guys are different. These guys conduct themselves a certain way, like they treat each other with respect. You know, they're just, it's a godly level of respect that we treat each other with, and these people can't fathom it. They've never seen it before. We actually, whenever we go places, we actually bless that place with the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You know, whether they received it or not, they were like, what's going on? You know? You know? Simple and plain. This is Proverbs 27:17. It says, iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. You know, and that's definitely what's going on in this truth, in this walk of ours. All right, brothers are always constantly reproving each other, rebuking each other, making each other better, man. Correcting, and correction is not always harsh, and rebuke is not always light, right? So take it how you want it. Rebuke could be harsh, and rebuke could be light, vice versa for the correction. Whatever, however you want to take it, man. But just know that if you can receive it, you're gonna be better. You're gonna be sharpened, right? And the best way to receive it is humbly, right? Simple and plain, like a lamb, like Yahweh Shai. And that's where you need to apply. That's where everything goes back to. You gotta apply Yahweh Shai, being a lamb, being humble, being able to receive, being able to listen, being able to take instruction, order, or correcting. All right, that's the main thing right there. You got to be able to take that. You know what I mean? All right, I'm gonna get this last scripture here, and I'm gonna close up, and the Lord will be edified. Okay. So this is Sirach 37 and 12. It says, but be continually with a godly man whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord. All right, so obviously this is with a brother in this truth. Okay. However, I'm not saying you got to do this in the world, but you got to have some sort of aspect of diplomacy, right? Diplomacy is very important, okay? Because like I said, we're representatives of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Us being diplomatic and quote-unquote cool, cordial, however we are with certain people, that might build let's say a bond or nothing like that, but that might inquire people to be like, yo, who are you? Like, what do you want, bro? Like, you're so cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are you like this? Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't, they might start coming up to you and saying, yo, I don't like people like that, but you're a cool guy, or you're cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? What do you want? Like, what do you do? What are you about? Right? And I'm not saying you cast pearls to swine, but you got to use their wisdom and your judgment and your discernment on that. However, if you're around these people long enough and you can tell that they're searching for, they're searching for the truth, eventually you can give them the truth. You can let them know, hey, you know what I'm saying? You're Israelite, the Lord's coming back soon, and this is where I go on, brother. You're from this tribe, or most likely from this tribe, whatever. You feel me? I'm not saying that was the case, because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm just here to be I'm just doing my due diligence, helping my little bro out, whatever. I'm not here to teach the word unless I'm obviously on the highways and byways or doing my videos, right? Obviously, right? So, but there are times where you gotta, drop gems. There's times where you gotta drop gems, and the Lord allows that. Okay. But yeah. So it says, Ecclesiasticus, Sirach 37 and 12. But be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, right, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. All right. And yeah, just basically having one mind, same mind. I'm not saying that was the case, but the main point being is, know when to have your guard up and know when not to. All right, and just be a diplomat, right? Be a diplomat for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? There's, simple and plain. Be not over righteous. Still, whatever. All these scriptures come into mind, man. We're in the world, man. You gotta know what's going on. All right, take that how you want it. Okay, but there's nothing wrong with being cordial with people, whatever. You feel me? It just is what it is. All right, so Lord will, you're edified. I'm going to say shalom to the next one. All right.